72681. Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Friday. It means we're brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Got Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. Preston Guy in 15 minutes. LSU football hosting a lot of top-tier recruits over the last week and into the coming week. We'll talk to Preston about that as Elite Camp cranking up next week over there on the Ponderosa. Chris Demouy at 1:30 putting a bow on LSU baseball 2024. Joe Healy from college from D1 baseball's SEC extra team. Baseball's not that far in the West Virginia, should they have come to Baton Rouge, but not the case. Chapel Hill will be hosting a Super Regional. We'll talk to Joe Healy about any and all of that. Generally speaking, we're going to talk about things that are fairly important. I don't deviate to stupid stuff all that often. Of course, stupid is subjective, but in my opinion, I don't deviate to that kind of stuff all that often. And I don't know that this topic is necessarily stupid, but I do understand that it's not massively important in the grand scheme of things when you're talking about competition on the field. When we address changes in the world of collegiate athletics right here on the Hunt Palmer Show, you're well aware, as the listener, of how I approach them. We can all say it together. How does this affect LSU winning? That's my first thought. Conference realignment, football scheduling, name, image, and likeness, transfer portal, all of that. What's the effect on LSU winning? That's, generally speaking, my reaction. I'm not here to be overtly objective in that case. I'm here to tell you how I feel based on how it affects LSU winning on the field. I'm here to tell you that this topic of conversation I'm about to lead the show with on this Friday has very, very, very little to do with how much LSU actually wins on the football field, on the basketball court, on the baseball field. I'm well aware of that. So when you hear me express my displeasure, you understand that I do so with an understanding that in the grand scheme of things, when the game begins, I know it doesn't matter that much. However, allow me to say my piece. Getting reports out that the NCAA has approved the use of sponsor logos on fields for regular season football games. Also, the NCAA is considering football jersey corporate logos. Now, we've got a picture here on our beautiful screen behind me of Tiger Stadium. It's a day game. It's a packed house. It's one of the great scenes, quite literally, in all of American sport. Now, if they put a big logo opposite the SEC logo on the 35, 25-yard line, whatever the case may be, I promise I'll live. I'll still go to the games. I'll watch the games. I'll be every bit as fired up for LSU and Alabama inside Tiger Stadium at night, whether there's a corporate logo on the 25 or not. I just would prefer it not be there. But it probably will be pretty quickly. Now that, my concern level, if we're going like 10, I'm never watching again, 0, I didn't even know it happened, is like a 3. Like, I'm not that concerned with how the field looks and if we're going to put a big logo on the 25-yard line. Like, they could do it, whatever. It makes the field look worse. It makes the field look not as traditional. I don't like it, but it's fine. You start putting big patches on the most beautiful uniform these eyes have ever seen, LSU's football uniform, it'll be a sad day for me. And I say that with the understanding that Jacob Beck, our producer here, has just handed me show prep from the morning show. And T-Bob's got his big, beautiful Chick-fil-A Bowl patch on his 53 jersey. He loves it. And I will tell you, there's some profanity written on this.
There is.
About how nerdy people like Hunt Palmer are that care about jersey patches. And I understand T-Bob feeling that way. But it's a slippery slope in my eyes because I look at NASCAR vehicles and the uniforms they wear, and I see what those teams wear to play soccer overseas, and they don't even have their team name on there because they need Etihad written across the front or whatever cell phone carrier or oil company, Emirates or what. And if LSU came out of the tunnel with a restaurant logo on their helmet, I would just be mortified. I can't say it another way. It would not affect the scoreboard 1 point. I totally get it. And if they came out and played with the logo of a restaurant on their helmet, it would not affect my ability to pull for LSU. I'd still go to every game. I'd still watch every play. I'd still be fired up for everything. But I could still think it looks terrible. I love classic traditional uniforms. I think Oregon looks atrocious every time they take the field. Every time. It's an embarrassment. I think the Arizona Diamondbacks should be docked a run every time they come out of the dugout. It's not how things work. It's just a subjective viewpoint on how teams look. But LSU's football uniforms are so classic and so wonderful. Same thing with Alabama's, same thing with Penn State's, same thing with Auburn's, same thing with Texas's, same thing with USC's and Ohio State's. And if we're going to put one patch on them, I promise I'll live. I'll tell you this. The New York Yankees have an insurance company on their left sleeve. And it's navy, and it kind of blends in, and they get a big check from it, and it's fine. It looks fine. And I'm not worried about one patch on LSU's left shoulder. But if we're going to go to 4 of them, and then the helmet, because we owe $2.7 billion to athletes that we haven't paid recently, and that's what the settlement is. So we have to find every possible revenue stream we can. You start to look stupid. And it's not going to change the results on the field, but it is going to look worse. And I like tradition, and I like the aesthetic and the classic look. And because we're inevitably always chasing the dollar over and over and over and over again and damning every tradition we could possibly have to chase money, there are some consequences that are massive in the grand scheme of things. Trust me, I'm fully self-aware that my plight that a restaurant's logo or an insurance company's logo might go on LSU's right shoulder is far, far, far less significant than Oregon State being without a conference and having its athletic department crater to go play San Diego State instead of Washington USC. That's a big deal. I might actually cry if I was in that situation. I'm probably not going to cry about this, but I will express my opinion in the summer on a 2-hour talk radio show when my baseball team's not playing in a Super Regional. I understand the money's got to come from somewhere, and $2.7 billion is up, and you're going to owe $20 million a year to these athletes in revenue sharing, and all that stuff's coming down, and you got to find a way to pay for it. Now, I've got to find, as LSU, a way to keep up with Texas and keep up with A&M and keep up with Georgia and keep up with Ohio State and keep up with Michigan. And to do that, you got to find money somewhere. And if you're just going to talk about this one thing, that's fine. I think LSU looks great with a College World Series patch on their baseball uniform. And when you play in the bowl game, you play in the Rose Bowl, and they put the big Rose Bowl in one there, it looks fantastic. And it's not going to completely take away from the uniform if we slap one patch on there. But where's the stopping point? Oh, we really liked them cutting that check for $2.5 million. Can we find another $2.5 million? And then if we go to the back of the helmet, can we get another 1.4 from them? And then all of a sudden we look like a NASCAR. And I just don't want that. Now, Beck, you have sat here and you've listened to me rant and rave and complain about all this, and you know how T-Bob feels, that I'm a complete dork and everybody who's complaining about this is a moron. Give me a third party here. What do you think about this door opening?
Well, it in my opinion, it does suck to me. It does. I think it makes sense why the NCAA is doing this and why teams are probably going to put logos on and they're going to get money for it. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what we think about it, of course. But I just, for me, college sports have always, not just in terms of the amateurism stuff. I'm not worried about that. Obviously, these guys are going to get paid, and it makes sense why. I agree. I think they should get paid. But just the fact that we're gonna have all these logos on uniforms now, but to me it's surprising though, because all the major sports have started to add logos, but they're small, they're not big. They're kind of still holding the integrity of the uniform. So I just hope that the colleges will follow in that suit. So like they'll have, LSU will have like maybe a little walk-ons logo on it or something, like on the corner. Not anything crazy. Like I don't think it's going to get too outlandish, as you're saying.
We'll see. At this point, I'll just say that I don't like the start. And if I see a logo and I'll say that's fine, then I'll say that's fine. I'm not going to immediately jump to catastrophe mode just because there's one logo somewhere that wasn't there previously. I'll assess it, and if I want to go back and say, hey, I was ranting and raving and bitching and complaining about all that, and it's not that big a deal, and I'll say that. And if it looks like they're going to put 4 on there and 1 on the back of the helmet, and we're going to have a slippery slope here because you got to try to keep up with the money somehow, some way, I probably will complain about that, but we'll see. To tie a bow on the entirety of this segment, again, no matter what logo they put on LSU's jersey, they go out there and play the Texas Longhorns inside Tiger Stadium at 7 o'clock on a Saturday. It's not going to affect my enjoyment of the game one way or another, or my intensity level when I'm watching the game. I just don't like it. And it is what it is. Our Friday show is brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. When we come back, Preston Guy talking recruiting. Lots of big names, including Decory and more. Might he recommit to LSU? We'll talk about it with Preston Guy of TigerBait.com coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Visit us at LeBear's Baton Rouge Casino this summer for all the hoops and hockey playoff action. We got the biggest screens, the best food and drink. Plus, we're giving away PIN cash bonuses and prizes to PIN Play Rewards members. Not a member? Join today by downloading and registering for the PIN Play app from the App Store. Unlock all the fun, including a chance to win up to $2,000 in PIN cash. All this and more. Make LeBear's Baton Rouge Casino your spring sports viewing headquarters, your summer sports viewing headquarters. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
Get the 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge app powered by Bayou Ford and tap the microphone icon to send us your thoughts in an audio message. Your message could be played on air during Off the Bench with Esther and T-Bob, The Hunt Palmer Show, and after further review with Matt Moscone.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Elevate brand visibility, ignite customer engagement with the power of radio and digital advertising combined. Guarantee Digital Media brings the two together as a trusted media partner in Louisiana for nearly a century. Claim your free digital audit at guaranteemedia.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $11,000 off the new 23 Dodge Charger. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $11,000 off the powerful new Charger. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Brack, your #1 park system in the nation.
Sandgriff, join us for the Monday edition of Live at Lunch from Walk-Ons in Brewley. We'll recap the Super Regionals and the NBA Finals. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Monday from Walk-Ons in Brewley on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Checking out the Bayou Ford YouTube chat where you can hang out and watch our shows live each and every day. Preston Guy says, every time I listen to Hunt talk about uniforms, one of my hairs turns gray. Preston Guy can answer for that comment now as he joins us in the Jim's Firearms Hotline. You don't like my takes, Preston?
Hey, look, Hunt, man, let's talk about this. It's not necessarily that you're wrong on the take. It's the quantity of uniform takes that we get from you, man. I mean, let me tell you, there's not a single child walking on your lawn, I bet. I mean, good Lord, man.
Look, I'm the uniform czar. I'm here to talk about uniforms. Like, the president has to talk about American issues. Like, I've got to talk about uniform issues because I'm the foremost authority on uniforms. Every take I have is properly thought out and is correct. And in this matter, once again, I've been proven right.
Well, I'll tell you about this. First off, one of the things that makes college football successful is there is a lot of difference between it and NFL football. If you look at the ratings, college football is the second highest rated sport according to TV viewership behind the NFL. Now, there's a wide margin between the NFL and college football because it's the best football and the #1 sport in country, right? But there are reasons people like, things like, the atmospheres. If you want to watch the best atmosphere in American team sports, it ain't on Sundays. It's on Saturdays where you got student sections, alumni, pride, pageantry, century-long traditions and rivalries. I mean, student sections, war chants that aren't appropriate for television. It's bigger stadiums. So the more you commercialize the sport, the more it becomes less unique. And, while the NBA, they put on logos on their uniforms, whatever, it's fine. I do start to realize, like, when you add a logo to a uniform, you do start to cut in to that tradition and pageantry a little bit. Maybe for some schools like Oregon, I guess they just put a bigger Nike logo on theirs. They now have 2 Nike logos on there. But, I mean, it's been kind of going along, but a school like Alabama, LSU, who are heavy on tradition, these kind of things matter. They matter. So it does give me some concerns, but ultimately, you got to start sharing your revenue with the players. So you know what that means. Most of these athletic departments are really breaking even or turning a loss most years. So you either got to make up that lost profit, or you're just going to have to cut back in a lot of other ways. And I don't think the arms race we have in college football for best lockers, best facilities, best coaching, I don't think that's slowing down just because you got to share revenue with players. You got to evolve and adapt. And if they change the rules, you bet, and it gives you a competitive advantage, which it does. I mean, if you have more money to share with your players and more money to invest in your program, it 100% is a competitor. You best believe we're going to see it take over relatively quickly.
Revenue streams, that's the name of the game, and this could certainly be one. Let's talk recruiting, Preston. It is that time of the year. LSU's Elite Camp coming up next week, but it's unofficial visit season, and LSU, as you'd expect, is seeing some very, very highly talented recruits over the this 2-3 week span here. Let's go back a little bit before we go forward. I want to talk about Jamie French, who was on campus, DJ Pickett. Those are 2 really, really highly thought of players that LSU appears to be in a reasonable spot. What can you tell us about those 2 guys?
Well, I got a chance to speak with Jamie and his mom, and they're high on LSU. They're not willing to go out and name him a leader. I believe he actually, I'll say this, he did have Texas as his #1 school. And now he's saying, I don't know if I have a leader now. So that's a clear and significant step in, the right direction for LSU there. What's really interesting is you lose DeCorian Moore. He decommits from you. There's certain recruiting situations where it's about fit, coach, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like Jamie French decommitting from Alabama, that was because Nick Saban retired, very clearly. DeCorian Moore, that kind of doesn't really it doesn't really pass the NIL sniff test to me. I think it is a bit of an NIL situation because we're talking about a kid who has pictures of himself out there on the internet as 8 years old in LSU gloves and uniform. He talks about growing up watching Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry, dreaming of, he calls it his dream school, that says he's 1,000% committed. And then despite all that, his actions were taking visits across the country. He was at Ohio State last weekend, which, by the way, while he was in Ohio, I think he got to pop in and see Jamar Chase while he was there, which I'm sure the Buckeyes aren't happy about. But, once you leave campus, you're free to do what you want, I guess. It seemed like to me like it is a situation where money might be involved there. I mean, everybody's throwing all sorts of – he's the number one receiver in the country. But to rebound from that, they were out of it for DeCorian Moore for a while. Joe Sloan and Cortez Hankton went and took an in-home visit, got him back in it, got him to take this official visit, which he's currently on campus for, actually. And they're pushing real hard to get back in it. So to rebound from that, not only do you get him back on your campus and back in it, but you bring in Jamie French, who's number 4 receiver in the country, and Khalil Lockett, who was also here, had a great official visit last weekend. So Khalil Lockett's the number 2 receiver in the country. So you've got, of the top 4 receivers in the country, LSU's got 3 of them on campus for official visits. They are not messing around when it comes to receiver.
No question about that. Also last weekend, DJ Pickett, big-time defensive back, appears to be a big-time LSU target. What do you know about that recruitment?
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy who was not even on LSU's radar in the slightest until they hired Corey Raymond. Corey Raymond had been recruiting him at Florida, although Florida wasn't front-runner for him. Clearly liked him. Well, as soon as he comes in, all of a sudden, DJ Pickett, and we're talking about a 5-star corner, highly interested, big-bodied guy, too, by the way, about 6'2", 6'3". This is a guy who could come in and be an immediate impact. We're talking very good player. And LSU's been all over him. I really do think LSU's the team to beat. Most of these guys, it's a recurring pattern. A lot of these guys are taking their summer circuits, going to their camps, seeing their teams, and before their football season starts, making a commitment. We're seeing a lot of late June, early August commitment dates being set, including Jamie French, who has his set for August 10th. But that's kind of the nature of the new college football we're in. Now we've kind of seen a recurring pattern where players aren't waiting until February anymore. They are signing in December, enrolling in January, and all before that is their senior football season where they want to lock in and focus. So we're seeing that more and more. I'm sure we'll see that with DJ Pickett, and I feel really good about LSU's position on DJ Pickett.
As far as Pickett goes, I mean, there was a time when Corey Raymond was here where, of course, you're going to do very well with your Derek Stingley's and Tre'Davious Whites and those guys that are from the state. But there was a time where LSU, whether it was Kevin Tolliver was a top 5 defensive back, Grant Delpit, Jamal Adams out of state, Eli Ricks out of state, like they were going to get a top 5 national DB just about every year. Do you expect LSU to be back in that mix now that Corey's here?
Well, that's where they were last time he was here. The problem as his career ended was not getting them to come to campus, getting them to stay on campus and stay healthy. I mean, my goodness, man, look at those 2021, 2022 years where none of those guys were around. I do expect LSU's recruiting to be elevated. Corey Raymond went on a run of recruiting top defensive backs right before things went south, right after that national championship. Think about Stingley and all the guys you were just naming. I expect it'll be much improved in recruiting. The real issue is going to be getting these guys on the field, staying on the field, staying healthy, staying eligible, all that stuff. And that's why you bring in a coach like a Brian Kelly who has a better history of roster management than Orgeron had. I mean, obviously, seeing his final 2 years, that really wasn't saying much. But ideally, yeah, you can partner recruiting with roster management and get a lot more talent and get LSU back on track where they were before things went down in the Orgeron tenure.
No question about it. Damian Shanklin was on campus as well, big-time edge rusher from Indianapolis. I talked about him a little bit earlier in the week, but what can you tell us there?
Yeah, from Indianapolis, big-time guy, 6'4", 230, four-star recruit. We're talking about a kid they really like. A lot of experts are weighing in now saying they expect him to end up at LSU. He really liked his visit from all reports. I think that him and a couple other guys, I look at Dylan Battle as a defensive tackle out of Lufkin, Texas, like him a lot to possibly put the Tigers high. I think Damian Shanklin's a guy who most LSU experts feel pretty good about right now. And he's a guy you need. You need to restore this defensive line in a big way.
Let's circle all the way back around to DeCorian Moore, who, as you mentioned, is on campus. He's had a wild ride that has included a commitment to LSU, then a decommitment, and they weren't on his list. Now they are on his list. Now they are getting an official visit. Are you following this closely? Should Tiger fans, or is this one that you think they're probably on the outside looking in?
LSU's definitely in it, which they weren't when he decommitted. They weren't in it. I'll tell you what gives me pause about this. I think for him to pick LSU, it's probably likely going to be a situation where it costs him money, which people do make business decisions in life. People will take pay cuts in life because it's something they like. Hey, maybe you relate. I think most people in sports media probably took a pay cut because they enjoy what they do. And maybe that's a situation where he can, but we're talking about a guy who's being recruited by the likes of Texas and Ohio State. I mean, we're talking about schools with massive NIL funds, and LSU's got a good, not great NIL fund, one that certainly helps LSU because, they can pull in local kids. I think the local talent feed is really what gives LSU an advantage in recruiting, not NIL dollars. But I will say I do believe I don't think LSU can beat those teams in a bidding war, and I don't think LSU wants to. Brian Kelly has shown that, yeah, we're willing to get players their market value, but we're not going to sit here and overpay for a guy. We're just not going to empty our fund and lose out on other players for one player we think is good. And, we see how recruits turn out sometimes. I mean, oftentimes these 5-stars come to campus and whatever plays out, and next thing you know, you've got an Eli Ricks on your hand. Very talented, just didn't really pan out on the field. So I don't think LSU's going to win a bidding war, and that gives me pause. So it has to be him deciding LSU's going to take good care of me, not the best care of me, but that's where I want to be. And we'll see if that happens. I'll tell you what, that quarterback they committed certainly helps pull in talented receivers.
Bryce Underwood, he's quite an asset to the LSU recruiting effort right this minute. It's one of the easier interviews I've ever done because Preston sent me a full list of everybody that's visited in the last 3 weeks, and we just kind of went down and checked them all off. Preston, tell everybody where they can find that and what y'all got coming up at TigerBait.com.
Yeah, guys, Mike Scarborough is working super hard. That's our site owner. He's all over it. We've got a nice list of all the official visits set for 2025, which, of course, started May 31st. And we're going to be going on all through football season, all through summer. If you want to check out that list, it's all available where there's way more names than we can name right now on radio. I think you'd all be bored to sleep maybe, but maybe you want to read it. So go to TigerBait.com where it's available for all of our subscribers in the Tiger Den forum.
Have a great rest of your weekend, Preston. Thanks, man.
All right, thanks, Hunt. Take it easy.
Preston Guy, beat writer over at TigerBait.com. He and Mike Scarborough got you covered on the recruiting front. As he mentioned, he talked to Jamie Frentz earlier this week, who just wrapped up an official visit to LSU. Tigers are very much trying to close the deal on that high-profile wide receiver, and he's not alone. There are a lot of really, really good players that LSU is in the mix on. This 2025 signing class is one that's going to be really star-studded, and they're trying to fill it out here in these summer months. They got you covered over there at TigerBait.com. And we'll talk to Preston every Friday moving forward. When we come back, Chris Demui, former Tigers Southpaw national champion, been with us all baseball season long. We'll do it one more time on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Maybe you locked in a great interest rate a couple of years ago and have no intention of moving right now, like that mortgage right where it is, like your interest rate. That's okay. But in that instance, maybe you could use a little bit of an upgrade without moving. David Vaughn and his team are happy to help you with that. They can do a full bathroom renovation and remodel. And they do it all. You don't have to call 5 different contractors to handle the different portions of the bathroom remodel. You call one. It's One Bath and Closets. That process starts with a free consultation. They come on in. The first thing you do is say, hey, I heard about you on the Hunt Palmer Show. Bang. $1,000 off to start. Then you move forward with what you're looking for and what they can do for you. And I can promise you this, David Duvall and his team are not going to do it as quickly as they can, get on to the next project, take your check, and see you later. No, they're going to do it right the first time, leave the competition behind. Nothing's going to break down 2 weeks later and have them right back in your bathroom fixing things up. David Duvall and his team, first class in everything that they do. Go online and check out the website. You can see testimonials from their satisfied clients. You can see pictures of their fantastic work, and you can get that consultation I tell you about every single day for free. Tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sent you $1,000 off at onebathandclosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Friday's AFR, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. The Riot Radio Hours return. Terrio's here, Kick Rocks, Ask Ryan, all that good stuff. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Looking up at the first Super Regional contest, UConn down in Tallahassee. Not going so hot for the Huskies. I don't think anybody cares. They're trying to keep their basketball coach away from the Lakers, but all 14 UConn fans that are watching are disappointed. They are down 11-1 to Florida State. So Florida State going to win that one. They'll be one win away from Omaha, Nebraska. Link Jarrett, nice turnaround there in Tallahassee after Mike Martin Jr. was fired. All right, let's talk some LSU baseball. Chris Demui, former Tiger Southpaw national champion, been with us every single Friday all the way. He joins us one more time to put a bow on 2024. Demui, how are you?
Doing good, buddy. How about you?
Fine. I wish my team was playing tonight, but I'll be all right. As you now are looking back at this 4 days after the season has come to an end, kind of how do you encapsulate everything that went on?
Yeah, I think initially you're disappointed or you're frustrated as a fan, but then when you look back and you say 6 weeks ago you're talking about maybe not even making a regional, and then made a run in Hoover, obviously, and then to get to this point after some bullpen games and to have UNC on the ropes, who's could very well play for a national championship this season. I think you got to look back and say they had some flaws and some deficiencies that probably held them back, but when they figured it out, they were pretty good. And in the end, you have to say it's a good season, especially. I mean, people need to remember Mississippi State and Ole Miss didn't even make a regional the year after they won the College World Series. And you look back, LSU's best pitcher is dicing up, Ohtani. So, I mean, you lost a ton of talent at the same time. So I think in the end, it was a good, successful season,
What was the biggest change and why they turned it on down the stretch?
Yeah, I think I heard you talk a little bit about this on Monday, but to me, and I was trying to think of an answer as well, I think to me it seems like the pitchers figured it out, or maybe you're talking with Chris Blair about this. I think Yesky kind of figured it out after the non-conference, putting Jump in the Friday night role and moving Holman seemed to solidify things. Herring was magnificent. And then it seemed like they got more productivity when runners on base later in the year. Now you could say that was a byproduct of playing, Missouri and Auburn and Ole Miss, who are all three very bad teams, but they beat A&M as well. So they got better hits, or bigger hits rather, and drove in more people when it mattered. But then you saw kind of the reverse of that in the regionals, to where when you're facing better pitchers, they struggled, right? They had to have a walk-off against Wofford. They lost to Carolina. Then they kind of turned some things around. But then in the Marble game, they didn't get a hit for like 7 innings, I think, right? Something like that. So it's but to me, I think the resurgence at the end of the year, they solidified some pitching things. He found some guys he could trust, leaned on those guys, and then hitting just kind of Braswell was good, Milam was good, Larson was good until the end. He kind of had a little bit of a slide, but to me, that's kind of how they made this run at the end.
Let's talk about some of the decisions that Jay Johnson made in the regional. First being going to Griffin Herring in the first inning against Wofford in that Sunday morning game.
You had to. I mean, you lose and you go home, right? So I think, unfortunately, Nate Ackenhausen didn't have it that day, or they didn't like what he was showing you. And I've been in those games before, and you just can't afford. They were already down enough, right? I mean, unfortunately, you get the catcher's interference, and then you get Herring throws a breaking ball for a strike on the first pitch, and the guy hits for a double. So you're down, I think, 5, right?
5-0.
Yeah, you had to. Like, that's it. So you had to go to your best guy and somebody that can get you some length, and he got you more than you probably could have expected. So, I think you just did what you had to do right there to just survive and advance at that point.
What can you say about Thatcher Hurd's start on Sunday evening? It's puzzling to me, to say the least, after what we had watched for 3 months.
Yeah, I think it was amazing, awesome. Wish you would have had that. I mean, woulda, coulda, shoulda, right? But if you get that guy 75% of the year, we're having a completely different conversation. I'm sure that's the guy.
With that starting rotation, yeah, Jump, Holman, and that guy, that'd have been good to have. And
I think that's what we all thought, right? Or all wanted to see, or kind of assumed was going to happen. But I thought he looked great. I think I texted you, right? I was like, this guy, he may love this mound. Or
yeah,
that was the first time I had seen him really push his fastball. I've kind of harped on this before, but to me, he's just got to get his fastball down in the zone. I think, sometimes they try to tunnel it with his breaking ball and leave it up, but it just doesn't move. So I don't know if it's really, really flat, even though he throws hard. But you saw a lot of swing and miss down in the zone. The umpire was giving that low strike. So to me, I don't know. He said in the post game that he, had been tinkering too much probably, and he looks like a little bit of an overthinker. Sometimes you can just think too much on the mound instead of just being an athlete and going after people. And he probably got in his head halfway through the year and just forgot what made him really good at the end of last year. And then unfortunately, or fortunately, he found it at the end, but a little too late, too little. But I mean, he was filthy, filthy.
What do you think about the decision to start Dutton on Monday?
Didn't like it at all.
Who would you have gone to? Ackenhausen was fairly available.
Coleman, sorry. I'm trying to think back to what I've texted friends and what I would have done, but not that I don't like Dutton, I don't like him as an opener. And I think he showed that the last couple of weeks. You know, I even thought back to his career. You know, I think he threw one pitch 2 years ago against Ole Miss as an opener and got pulled. So I think he's been really good in relief, but I didn't like him as an opener. And then I think really Jay just wanted him to face Honeycutt and face Parks Harbor. It looked like he was going to, even though he wasn't doing well, but I think even if he would have done well, he may have got pulled after those guys anyway. So I didn't like it at all when it was announced. I would have gone with Coleman, even though he probably gives you a max 40 pitches, and then he kind of petered out. And then I think, you know, obviously hats off to Will Helmer. Is just an amazing way to end his career. But I had more questions at the end of the game than anything, really.
Would you have gone to jump or left Ackenhausen in?
No, I would have. People are going to say, "Oh, you're just saying this. You're on the radio, hindsight, all that." No, I didn't like going to jump. If it worked out, then I would have admitted I was wrong. To me, this is the biggest thing. Okay, he's never come out. He came out the pen once before that, and people, if they don't know, it's not like you can just warm up. You're good to go. Like starters have this massive routine, right? They get to the ballpark an hour ahead of time. They have time to stretch, the long toss. But when you're in the bullpen, it's just strictly adrenaline, and it takes you a while to figure out how many pitches you need to get hot. And the thing I didn't like about it was, one, he's never been in that situation, right? Two, Ackenhausen had just struck out the side, I believe.
He did.
Three, I know this has worked out for Jay in the past, and it seems like he manages by feel a lot, and sometimes we question it, but a lot of times it works. But it seems like in this occasion where he managed by feel with Helmers, who you're like, man, we're just going to keep riding him because he's dealing. But then the other one, when you thought, well, we're going to leave Ackenhausen in because he's dealing, but he seemed like he made the decision in the hotel room to be like, if we have the lead in the ninth, we're going to jump, no matter what. And it just seemed really, I just have to question that, you know, where you managed by feel, you left Helmers in, you had Ackenhausen in, and then you put a guy in there who's never been in that situation before. And yes, it could have worked out, right? He could have struck out the side, or Ackenhausen could have got lit up and you would have lost anyway. But to me, I mean, Nate has proven he can pitch in big moments, and he's used to that. And I just didn't like it, you know. So.
Yeah, all that makes sense. And I can absolutely rationalize both sides of it, and I'm okay with either way. It's one of those deals where I don't know that right and wrong is what we're talking about here. I think it's just a preference deal, and if you can adequately explain to me why you're making a decision, I'm usually going to live with it. So let's talk about the future now. Let's start with Griffin Herring, left-handed relief guy who I think in my head could change his draft profile, but he's also coming off a fantastic year where somebody may want to gobble him up. What do you think that decision's like for the left-hander?
I think the same as you. I would love to see him come back and be a starter and just incorporate. I know he's got a changeup, and just love to see him incorporate his changeup a little more, or maybe develop something else, you know, to where he's like you said, starter's going to make more money, right? But it's one of those, the strike while the iron's hot, and the whole what if question. If you're in his shoes, right? What if I come back next year and it doesn't go well? So, and you've seen that happen with some guys LSU's picked up in the portal per se, but I don't know. I don't know where it's going to land on him. I don't know his family situation. I know the zip code he comes from in Dallas, since I lived there for a while. So
yep.
I don't want to make any assumptions on that. That's probably not a very cool thing to say, but I would love to see him come back another year and be a starter potentially. But I completely understand the whole, I don't know if I'm going to do better than this. So it's I think it's 50-50, you know.
What about Jared Jones?
God, if you would have asked me I would say 5 weeks ago, I would say there's no way he goes. But now, you know, he still strikes out a lot, but it seems like big league baseball, I don't care about that. I still try to wrap my head around that. But just his power profile, I mean, it's just, I would like to see him come back selfishly, right, to see him get better at first. And, I mean, he could potentially have a Charlie Condon type of a year next year, right? If he cuts down, he was locked in North Carolina, it felt like, from a walk and a knowing the zone perspective. I mean, he took some really good pitches, but unfortunately, I think he's probably going to go. You know, I think he'll probably be a top 5 round pick, and people aren't going to be able to pass up that power. It's just, my question is, what does he look like with a wood bat in his hand? Does his strikeout rate really increase? And then he's just going to have to get better at first, you know?
Last one moving forward, I just want your take on this as another left-hander. You know, Cade Anderson came out this year and just was unbelievable. I was going, this guy might work his way into the rotation. He goes out of the bullpen against SEC teams. It doesn't look very good at all. He was good in the regional, and now he's got probably a summer to go work on some things. What does his future look like?
I think he'll challenge for just only knowing what we know today, I think he'll challenge for a weekend spot next year potentially. It's just the biggest thing is, and you know this, and I'm sure a lot of people know this. The biggest thing is that you just got to be able to figure out a way to make it through the order. It's different. No disrespect. Well, I can't. A lot of LSU teams in state that they played this year are regional teams, but when you play some midweek teams, you can get through the order 2.5, 3 times. It's not as big of a deal, right? But in the SEC, so he's just got to figure out a way to probably locate a little bit better. It looks like he was working on another breaking ball, so curveball and a slider. It looks like he flashed a little bit of a slider in Chapel Hill, which will help a lot to give lefties probably something to look at. But I think he's definitely, his velocity looked great. I think he was up to 95 in the regional, which, and another year off Tommy John, he'll get stronger, probably put on some more weight. So I think he has a chance to be a weekend guy next year for sure.
We appreciate your help all year long, man. Let's catch up sometime during the summer.
Sounds great, Hunt. Thanks, buddy, as always. I really appreciate it.
He's Chris Demouy, former Tiger national champ, Southpaw, and with us every single Friday talking baseball here on the Hunt Palmer Show. Our Friday shows are brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish, and Shrimp. We'll come back and close out the hour number 1 with a big honor for an LSU baseball player. We'll tell you what it is and who it is coming up next.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a
Charles Sandgriff join us for the Monday edition of Live at Lunch from Walk-Ons in Bruley. We'll recap the Super Regionals and the NBA Finals. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Monday from Walk-Ons in Bruley on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Clock out and rock out with us today in downtown Baton Rouge, just 3 hours from now, from 5 to 8 p.m. The last Live After 5 of the spring, this Friday. Today. I don't know. I'm reading the thing is the copy says this Friday on it, and as I said before, I am like Ron Burgundy. I read whatever the teleprompter says. Today, come out to see the Bucktown All-Stars for Live After 5.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Good read there.
Thank you.
CorksFishandShrimp.com is the website. Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. You got to feed the family and you just want to drive by, do something simple. Get the big haul from Corks. It's great. Got 10 fried fish, 30 fried shrimp, a 16-ounce of coleslaw, a large box of fries, 8 Hush Puppies, 5 rolls. It's $55. You can feed the whole family right there with one order. They're happy to have it for you right there in the drive-thru. If you're looking to feed the office, feed the family, do a tailgate watch party, Corks can help you out with that there on Government between Foster and Jefferson. Very cool honor for Stephen Milam, LSU second baseman, just finished up his freshman year. And he's been invited to Team USA's Collegiate National Team training camp. That'll be at the end of this month. They'll play a couple of games, intra-squad in Cary, North Carolina on the 26th and 27th. And then they will announce the final Collegiate National Team on June the 29th. That national team's going to play an International Friendship Series and then a Summer League tour. So that's a very, very cool thing that Stephen Milam's been invited to. Obviously, he was dealing with some discomfort with his foot/ankle in the regional. I would imagine having 3 weeks off is going to heal that, and he'll be able to go up there full go. He's participated in some Team USA things growing up, the U14 team and whatnot, and I think this is a guy that's going to be one of the faces of the next iteration of LSU baseball. Of course, Tommy White is very much gone. You've already lost Skeens and Cruz and Morgan and Thompson and all those guys off that team. You're losing your entire weekend rotation off of this team. We'll see what Jared Jones' decision is. I don't anticipate that Stephen Milam is going to be as productive as Tommy White or Dylan Cruz or those guys in terms of hitting 25 home runs and driving in 65, 70. But he's a heck of a player, and I think he's going to be a stalwart on the middle infield for LSU for the next couple of years. And he's come from Las Cruces, New Mexico, where the competition's not fantastic, and we know that he took some gut punches, both offensively and very much defensively, in the fall. And when you watched him play defense in April, May, and into June of this year, for me to sit here and tell you that he had trouble every single day I went out there fielding a ground ball in the fall, I promise I'm not making this up. And it's obvious now that he is a good defender. He was just making errors, I think, mentally because he was struggling so much offensively, and it just kind of bogs you down. And once things started to click for him offensively, which you knew they would, he started to be more comfortable on defense and looked to be the part of an all-SEC type middle infielder. So I don't know what Michael Braswell future hold. I don't know what LSU's looking at in the transfer portal. I don't know if Stephen Milam is going to move over to shortstop at any point in his LSU career. But right now, I really like him at second base. I think defensively he's a plus for you there. He's got plenty of arm. He moves well both sides, and he showed some power late in the season from both sides of the plate. He's going to be one of your dudes for the next couple of years, and hopefully he and Ashton Larson and Jake Brown and some of those guys, the Cade Andersons of the world, are going to be a force moving forward. We talked a lot about LSU's 2023 freshmen who weren't asked to do a heck of a lot last year, and what might they be? Well, the fact that some of those guys didn't rise to the occasion and had some freshmen come in and take some playing time late it probably gives you a better indication of what those guys are actually going to be next year, and Stephen Milam's right in the middle of that. So hopefully Stephen Milam is able to make Team USA and is able to have that experience this summer of playing some high-stakes games and some international competitions. If that doesn't happen and he doesn't make the team, I'm quite confident they'll send him up to Cape Cod and he'll get some ABs against some really good arms there. But Stephen Milam, a cool honor for him to be invited to Team USA's Collegiate National Training Camp coming up later this month. That's it for hour number 1 here on this Friday. We got 1 hour left to go. We're going to step aside for SportsCenter. When we come back, Joe Healy, D1 Baseball's SEC Extra Team, talking LSU and the rest of the teams left in Southeastern Conference play, plus some Saints talk, NFC South burning questions. We'll step aside from SportsCenter, come back with more of the Hunt Palmer Show.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $11,000 off the new 23 Dodge Charger. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $11,000 off the powerful new Charger. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Farming is a way of life for us. It's not something we get up in the morning and dread going do. It's just something we go to bed at night looking forward to getting up to go do. John Deere equipment is what we as farmers strive to have. So it's in your blood, it's in your veins. It's just a part of who you are. Green is what we want to be in. The other tractors were acquired to patch it up to get to where you want to be. Where we want to be is in John Deere. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler reports Chiefs defensive end B.J. Thompson is now awake. He was taken to the hospital Thursday after suffering a seizure and cardiac arrest. Thompson was a fifth-round draft pick out of Stephen F. Austin last year. ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski reports Connecticut coach Dan Hurley is meeting today with Lakers owner Jeannie Buss and VP of basketball ops Rob Pelinka. Hurley has not made a decision yet about jumping to the NBA. ESPN's Brian Windhorst.
UConn was not able to get a contract extension done with Dan Hurley in these 2 months that have passed since they won that title. And I will point out this week, they did get one done with Gina Auriemma, their legendary women's basketball coach. That's in place. So now UConn is scrambling.
Brian Windhorst on Get Up. Hurley did sign an extension last year through 2029 after the first championship. In the French Open men's semifinals today, on court right now, Casper Ruud and Alexander Zverev are 1-set all. In the other semi, Carlos Alcaraz beats Jannik Sinner in 5 sets.
As humans, we like having options. One option you might like is speaking with a real person when you call about your credit card. With 24/7 live, U.S.-based customer service from Discover, everyone can talk to a real person anytime, day or night. Limitations apply. See terms at discover.com/credit card.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. 15-1 is the score in Game 1 between Florida State and Connecticut. The Huskies up against it. But as I mentioned in the first hour, I think that the UConn fans are a little more concerned with Danny Hurley's whereabouts and whether or not he's taking the Lakers job than how their team's doing in Tallahassee. So I think they'll survive. It looks like Florida State going to be 1 game away from the College World Series. Evansville and Tennessee getting set to do battle here in just a couple of minutes. The Aces win the regional involved Wake Forest and East Carolina last week, which was a shocker and probably to the benefit of Tennessee. But we saw Stony Brook come in here and do some things back in 2012, so you never quite know what you're getting into. Joe Healy, SEC Extra, part of the D1 baseball team, joined us all season long talking baseball and does so one more time to put a bow on LSU's season and talk about these Super Regionals. Joe, how are you?
Pretty good, Hunt. I appreciate you having me on and bearing with me, missing you guys yesterday. Sorry about that.
It's all good. We don't have anything extra to talk about moving forward, so we can recap it just as easily today as we did yesterday. As you kind of try to encapsulate LSU's 2024 season, what do you think of?
Gosh, a mixed bag. I'd be curious for your thoughts on this too, because if you compare it to preseason expectations, you have to look at it as a disappointment, right? I mean, preseason top 5 team. Now, maybe we were just wrong on that, right? I mean, that could be. But considering the expectation, and it wasn't just us at D1 Baseball that felt that way, it's a disappointment. However, by the end of the season, what Jay Johnson had been talking about all season was correct. I mean, they had a really good team. They were playing like a top 15, maybe a top 10 team by the end of the season. It just so happened you came up against the UNC team that's pretty doggone good too. And, but LSU stared them in the face for 18 innings in that regional final, and one play goes a different direction, and LSU's playing on a super regional, and don't look now, but you play West Virginia at home. There's a path to Omaha. Once you're in Omaha, who knows what's happening? So the flip side of it is, the team played pretty well on the stretch, and they were right there. So it's a mixed bag, but what complicates it for me, too, is that this isn't a case where this is a really young team where you're like, okay, next year, these guys are really going to come out ready to go. There are some nice pieces coming back, but you are going to be living life without Tommy White, Luke Holman, Gates Jump, et cetera, et cetera. So this team is going to be in a position pretty similar to where they were starting this season, which is, trying to rebuild a roster on the fly while having high expectations.
Yeah, I don't think Jay's going to put the phone down for 3 or 4 weeks. It's going to be just all hands on deck to the transfer portal. I'd be shocked if this weekend there aren't 1 or 2 transfer portal visitors on campus. We won't know about it, but I'd be shocked if that's not the case. And to your point, exactly right. I mean, you're never going to consider an LSU baseball season that ends on someone else's field in a regional a success. It was a disappointment in that way, but I can still say that and credit the guys for staring 3-12 in the face and becoming one of the best 15 teams in college baseball that had a real chance. And to further your point, I realized that West Virginia was coming, and I had thought far enough ahead to realize that Hagen Smith was supposed to be there in the Omaha opener and would not have been there, and that's where you really start to get depressed. We just leave it at that. Why do you think it took LSU so long to turn it on?
Boy, if I had that question, I would probably be selling my services as a consultant to college baseball coaches. I really do think. Look, you probably did some of the same things. But whenever I heard Jay Johnson say, even at 3-12, like, look at our schedule. What do you want us to do? I kind of rolled my eyes and was like, all right, but 3-12? And the answer is probably somewhere in the middle. But I do think on some level, just everything broke to where the first half of their SEC season, unless they were last year's team right out of the gate, which they weren't ever going to be, that was just going to go poorly when you're trying to figure out your team dynamic. And I think any SEC team probably would have had something similar happen. And frankly, they weren't the only team that was in that type of position that was having to fight back. And it just turned out LSU played better than Ole Miss and Alabama and whoever else fell into a hole this season, right? So I think the biggest thing, though, if we look at the big picture here, is just that, to go back to a couple of things I've said earlier this season, where it just felt like there was a leadership vacuum. And look, I'm not in the locker room. I'm not going to pretend to be. But there just felt like there was a little bit of a, maybe not even leadership, but a personality vacuum, a gravitational pull vacuum on this team where, look, Tommy White's a great player, but he's not, some of the other guys LSU has had in recent years where that the heartbeat of this team is that guy right there. Tommy White wasn't that, as great as player as he was. And it just felt like LSU never quite had that, right? And if you want to point your finger to one thing, I think that's where I'd go.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, and it's also to kind of talk about what happened. It's just very difficult for anybody to show a ton of leadership and a lot of good vibes to happen when you're 3-12 and you just keep losing
100%.
games. It's just a difficult spot to be in, but they managed to pull their way out. But it's just a tough draw in North Carolina. Let's talk about North Carolina. Is that a national championship caliber team in your eyes?
I think it is, because I think the reality of college baseball in 2024 is that I would rather. Now, look, you want to have a Hagen Smith, you want to have a Luke Holman at the front of the rotation. But if you can't have that, I would rather have about 1 billion bullpen guys you like. Because the way college baseball is played is outside of the Hagen Smiths and the Paul Skeens of the world and whoever else, most guys are throwing like 5 innings or 5+, or maybe 6 if it's a good day. And then you're just going to bullpen it from there. So I would rather do it like UNC did, where they went into that 7th game on Monday against LSU kind of knowing, look, we're going to bring back a starting pitcher for a couple innings, and then we're just going to bullpen the crap out of them. But we've got our guys lined up and ready to go. And if that game had gone 5 or 6 more innings, that wouldn't have been comfortable for UNC, but they could have done it from a pitching standpoint because of what they have in the bullpen. I think that's a real asset in this version of college baseball. Now, the caveat I would give you is that maybe it's not going to be as offensive an environment in Omaha as the regular season was, because I don't know if you noticed, Hunt, but like the offense was not really there last weekend. And I've heard outside of just me, and it's not just me saying this, that people think the balls were different last weekend. And that, of course, creates just all sorts of uncertainty for what we're going to see the rest of the way. But if it is an environment like the regular season, I do like UNC's ability to just play matchups all game long with their pitching.
If you would have told me LSU was going to keep North Carolina completely in the ballpark for the 18 innings that they played them in Game 6 and Game 7, I'd have felt really good about that. They did enough to get the quality of their bats was far better than LSU's, and they were facing a little bit lesser pitching as well. But I thought they were really good. Let's talk about some of these SEC teams. Tennessee has started things up with Evansville. Do you anticipate any trouble for them in Knoxville?
I don't, and that's not even really to disrespect Evansville. It's just that of all the mid-major, or of all the teams Evansville could have come up with, Tennessee's the worst matchup, and not just because of the number 1 overall seed, though that's part of it. Evansville is a pitch-to-contact team, and I don't have to tell you, going to face Tennessee and Lindsey Nelson with a pitch-to-contact pitching staff is a recipe for disaster. And I heard you in our lead-in reference Stony Brook in 2012 at the box, and sure, there is the chance of that kind of thing. Look, Tennessee can come out flat as a pancake. Super regionals are a very small sample, but it just feels like a disastrously bad matchup for Evansville. But look, if if it goes a different way, that's a great story, and that'll be fun to watch, and I welcome it, but I just can't see it happening.
One of the things that people on the outside don't quite remember about the fact that LSU Stony Brook series happened is that LSU in that weekend rotation had Kevin Gaussman and Aaron Nola, who are both dealing in the MLB still as we sit here in 2024. That makes it even more improbable. Now, they lost the one game that both of those guys pitched in game one, but they did beat Gaussman in game two in a weird rain delay situation. All right, College Station, Oregon goes to play Texas A&M. Can they put up a fight?
I think a little bit, because there's that team has an edge. That team is not stereotypical West Coast, where a lot of times it's highly skilled players, but not the most physical players, and they're kind of, I'm just going to sound worse than I mean it, but kind of soft. This team is not that. That team has an edge to them, and that's one thing that I think Mark Wazakowski really brought to that program when he took over. That being said, they don't bring a lot of velo on the mound or a lot of pedigree. They are somewhat physical in the lineup, but not A&M level physical. I think it's a good matchup for A&M. I also like, if you're A&M, the fact that the high temperatures are supposed to be in the high 90s this weekend. For a team coming down from the Pacific Northwest, that feels like a pretty good break for A&M, where the temperatures are just going to be to a point where, Oregon hasn't played in that, at least since last postseason. So I like it from A&M standpoint. I think Oregon will be more competitive than, say, Evansville, but I still think it's A&M moving on to Omaha. I just got a picture of Jim Schlossnagle going to get Cortez and Ashen back with a lead at some point in different games in the fifth or sixth, and those guys finishing it. And I like A&M's bullpen from that perspective in that one. I was a little taken aback at Wes Johnson in a non-must-win game last Sunday, going to his ace on one-day rest. Is that an indication of where that Georgia pitching staff is at this point? A little bit, yeah. I mean, that's. I think I've been asked a few times this week about the SEC host Super Regional team on upset alert, and I think it's Georgia, and that's a little bit of a cop-out because it's a 7-10, so it's not like it's a earth-shattering upset, but I do think NC State is a team that can exploit where Georgia is weak, and that's just in terms of the mound. They have about 3 guys, maybe 4, on a good day they really trust. It's Leighton Finley, it's Colton Smith, it's Christian Maracna, and I'm sure there's one I'm missing off the top of my head. And those guys have pitched pretty well down the stretch. But when you compare it to what a lot of other teams are working with, including NC State, it's not all that impressive. NC State's got a deep lineup. Their pitching talent is better than Georgia's, but also better than the numbers show for NC State. They had a little bit of a similar season to Georgia in that, you liked some of the talent on the mound, but the numbers just weren't there. But I'm telling you now, the numbers of what you see with NC State's pitching are not representative of how talented that staff is. Plus, they, believe it or not, they still have guys on the mound who pitched in the College World Series with them a few years ago. So, they've got the experience edge as well. That's the team that got sent home for COVID? Yes. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, that seems like a decade ago. Wow. Yeah. Do you think Florida has enough in the tank to get to Omaha and make a run here? Do they have enough? Yes. Will they get it done? I'm more dubious of that because I think this is another thing I think we've got a little, and by we, I just mean general college baseball observers, we've gotten a little overheated about the last few days. Florida went to Stillwater. Oklahoma State has a reputation for playing kind of tight in home regionals and super regionals. So they go to Stillwater, they take advantage of that. But this is a Florida team that scored 4 runs in a regional final. I just didn't necessarily see this as a big breakout weekend for Florida. They're suddenly playing much better baseball than what we saw down the stretch. Are things better? Yes. Liam Peterson is pitching great. Ashton Wilson came off the bench. Nobody knew who he was to be the most outstanding player in that regional last weekend. So things are better. But I don't think this is a fundamentally different team than what we've seen. If Clemson plays their brand of baseball, Clemson wins, they go to Omaha. I also don't like that Florida lineup against the 1-2 starters for Clemson. They've got Tristan Smith and Aiden Canuck, who are both really, really good in a way that even some SEC teams don't have a 1-2. And against good pitching this year that has really good game plans against Florida, Florida doesn't hit. The one thing you can say about Missouri, they've got a great pitching coach in Tim Jamison. They had a few arms. That weekend when Florida went up to Columbia, they got carved up, and that was Missouri. So Clemson's pitchers are better than that. So I can foresee a scenario where that kind of thing happens again to the Gators this weekend. Very, very fitting that I left Kentucky for last and almost forgot about them because that's what I think everyone probably does. And then all of a sudden they show up and they're the number 2 national seed, and they had no problems in their regional last week. Can they win the national championship? Oh, boy. No, I just don't think so. I just don't think the pitching is good enough. I really like the lineup, and I'm guilty of this, like sleeping on that lineup. Like they're really good offensively because they have all the skills they had last year plus some physicality this year. I just don't think they have enough pitching right now. I don't know who they trust in the bullpen. Last weekend it worked out really well. They got a couple of good starts from guys who hadn't been all that great down the stretch, especially Mason Moore, who's kind of hit and miss for them. He was great over the weekend. They absolutely had to get out of that regional 3-0 because if it gets interesting, I think Indiana State would have been ready for that fight to go long on the Monday with them. So it was important they got out 3-0. They did. Now it's a nightmare situation where I think both teams, Oregon State and Kentucky, are looking at each other like, oh, Jesus, like, what do we do to deserve this? Because Oregon State's better than number 15 overall seed.
Yeah.
They just kind of sleepwalked through their season because their league wasn't very good. And so they just kind of kept it on cruise control, and so that hurt their seeding. And then on the flip side of it, so they see it as we shouldn't be going to the number 2 overall seed. We're better than that. And Kentucky says, why do we have to play you as the number 15? Y'all should have been better than that. We should not have to play a team of this quality. So both teams get a little bit hosed there, but I think that's actually going to be a really fun Super Regional.
Enjoy the baseball this weekend, Joe. We appreciate it. Maybe we'll catch up when you're in Omaha.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to do it. Talk to you soon.
Joe Healy, SEC Extra Team over at D1 Baseball, talking some SEC baseball. Tennessee has made one out in the bottom of the first inning, so I feel like I'm within my right to give a prediction here, considering they've only made one out. It was Christian Moore, and he hammered it, but he's out. I think Tennessee is going to win this Super Regional over Evansville 2-0, and I think they will outscore them by at least 22 runs. That is my prediction for the Super Regional. I don't think it's going to be competitive for one pitch. Tennessee just catches a huge break by getting Evansville instead of Wake Forest or East Carolina. So we'll see. I'm pulling against them, but I don't think it's going to do much good. We'll take a timeout. Burning questions for the NFC South. CBS Sports came up with them. What are they talking about for the Saints as well as the other 3 teams in that division? We'll do it next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric. Neil and Melissa have been running Boudreaux's Electric for 40 years. You do something with 40 years, you pretty much have a good idea of what you're doing. They're a certified Generac home standby generator dealer. That means they're certified to deal you Generac generators. Obviously, they're also a premier Generac dealer. That means they're in the top 3%. They do a fantastic job of customizing every single generator for the client that is at hand. Whether you've got a lot of square footage, just a little square footage, whether you're a commercial client with a big, big building, or just a homeowner that wants their power running when a storm rolls through, they can help you with all of that. And every Generac generator that they sell you comes with a 7 to 10 year warranty, depending on the type of generator that you purchase from them. Every generator is installed by a full-time Boudreaux's Electric employee, not just somebody they contract or call to get the truck out there and make it happen. And when they install that Generac generator at your home or your business, they're going to take care of you and make sure that it is done aesthetically pleasingly, not just put together and so it's not unsightly outside your home or your business. It's Boudreaux's Electric.
Get the 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge app powered by Bayou Ford and tap the microphone icon to send us your thoughts in an audio message. Your message could be played on air during Off the Bench with Esther and T-Bob, The Hunt Palmer Show, and after further review with Matt Moscone.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Friday's AFR, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. The Riot Radio Hours return. Terrio's here, Kick Rocks, Ask Ryan, all that good stuff. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
ESPN Baton Rouge is excited to partner with our sister station Eagle 98.1 and WBRZ TV on a rare opportunity for local bands in our area to be the featured act for Kenny Wayne Shepherd's July 13th show at the River Center. We're looking for 5 Louisiana bands to compete at a special Battle of the Bands presented by Parish Construction and Roofing on June 21st at the Texas Club. The submitted entry to take part with a sample of your band's sound and get all the details, visit 1045ESPNBatonRouge.com. The entry deadline is June 12th.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Touchdown. Jordan Travis hits Keon Coleman in the corner of the end zone. Florida State scores 24-1. It's the score. That's Florida State over UConn, 24-1 in game 1 of the Tallahassee Super Regional. Beck, I need your confirmation to the listeners that when I predicted that Tennessee would outscore their opponent Evansville in this Super Regional by over 22 is what I said in 2 games. That was before Blake Burke just hit the ball off the scoreboard, correct?
Yeah. That's correct.
Thank you very much for confirming that. My position stands on that. This is going to be a nasty 2 days for the Evansville Aces, who I believe will not quite live up to that mascot over the next 2 days in that ballpark against that team. So 1-0 Tennessee in the second inning there in Knoxville. All right, let's talk some NFC South. Burning questions for every team in the NFC South, according to CBS. And we'll start with Tampa, the NFC South champions from last year. And the burning question is, can Baker Mayfield maintain the play he showed in 2023 with a new offensive coordinator and a new contract? If you didn't realize this, Baker Mayfield, who was playing on a 1-year deal and in a competition with Kyle Trask last year, proved himself to be a top 12 quarterback in the NFL, a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. He completed 64% of his throws for over 4,000 yards. He threw 28 touchdowns, which was more than Patrick Mahomes last year. He was top 10 in the league in yards, touchdowns, and really piloted that offense very, very well. He's got Mike Evans back. He's got Liam Cohen now. Can he maintain that level of play? And my answer to that question would be yes, he can. I would imagine he will maybe take a quick step back. I don't think he's going to fall off a cliff. He's not that old. He's a relatively young player for that position because we've seen guys well into their 30s play it at a very, very high level. But I don't anticipate Baker Mayfield to play at some sort of MVP level. I don't think there's an ascent coming. I think there's a stagnation coming. And the question is, can Mike Evans still be that guy? I think there's reason to believe they'll be relatively close. So this answer is not some sort of hot take or affirmative, definitive answer. I think that they're going to be fine. And that's what they were last year. It wasn't like Tampa was a great football team last year. Tampa was a fine football team last year in a trash division, and they eked it out. I think they'll be a fine team next year. So that's my quote-unquote answer to the burning question there. I think we basically see what Baker Mayfield is, a mediocre to high end of the middle of the pack at quarterback. Question for Carolina. Can Bryce Young rebound after a horrific rookie season? I don't know, man. That's a toxic situation. We always talk about the organizations that you go into and being set up for success or set up for failure. And, we've watched some guy. I mean, Justin Fields had almost no chance. He had revolving door at offensive coordinator, changes at general manager, an organization in transition. Were they trying to sell off? Were they trying to tank? Were they trying to add? It just never quite worked. Mitch Trubisky in the same organization was much the same. After a good start at Baker Mayfield's chance there in Cleveland, that organization crumbled, and it wasn't going to work. I don't know anybody who can sit here right now and suggest with any degree of confidence that things are going to get any better in Carolina. You have a bad owner. You've got musical chairs at coach. You've got a mediocre roster to a bad roster. And you've got a quarterback who couldn't get his feet on the ground last year. And I thought Bryce Young was the best quarterback in the history of Alabama football when I watched him play. Playmaking ability, accuracy, athleticism. He was fantastic. But you get up there where everybody is in a better spot than you from an organization perspective, as opposed to everybody being in a worse situation than you when you talk about Alabama. Well, the tables turn pretty quick. Last year, he threw for 5.5 yards per attempt. His passer rating was 73.7. Both of them were the worst in the NFL. Means he's the second first overall pick rookie to rank last in both of those since the merger. It was not good. Now, if you want to put a sliver of hope on it, and I'm reading this from the CBS article, Troy Aikman back in 1989 was not good. The Cowboys were terrible. We know that. But they continued to add around him, and that was an organization at that point that was on the rise. Jerry Jones was doing things the right way, and Jimmy Johnson was a very quality coach. And before things fell apart there, that was a great organization. And oh, by the way, Troy Aikman played behind one of the best offensive lines in the history of the NFL. I don't know that I can say that about Bryce Young, and I can't tell you that the NFL's all-time leading rusher is going to be playing behind him either. So I think everybody is selling Carolina at this point. I'm going to join them there. I don't have any ill will towards Bryce Young anymore because he's not wearing crimson and white. I just don't think I'm going to bet on his career in Carolina at this point. It feels like things aren't going to work out. If he shocks me and things turn around, great, but I don't know that I'm betting on a resurgence from Bryce Young. So we're sticking with quarterback for the first two, and the third, which is Atlanta. We'll get to the Saints at the end here. What will Kirk Cousins look like at age 36 coming off a torn Achilles? And there's no real way to know, but I feel like Kirk Cousins is going to be the Kirk Cousins we've seen. It's not a pitcher coming off a torn labrum, and the Achilles is very, very important, but I don't think Kirk Cousins is going to run for 820 yards and 7 touchdowns this year. Kirk Cousins is going to catch the football. He's going to drop his back foot. He's going to scan the field, and he's going to get rid of it. And he's been good at that September through December for a decade now, and I think he'll be good at that. They've signed him for a 4-year deal, $180 million. They've guaranteed $100 million to him, and I think he's going to do a good job there. I said when they signed him, I thought that made Atlanta the favorites. As I digest it a little more, I would suggest that I probably would lean Tampa there without a huge degree of confidence, but Atlanta's certainly in the discussion. And we think Aaron Rodgers is going to be just fine coming off of an Achilles, and I think Kirk Cousins is probably going to be pretty good coming off of a concussion. There's some examples in this story from CBS Sports of quarterbacks coming off a concussion. Dan Marino went on to make 86 more starts and do a really good job, made 2 Pro Bowls. Vinny Testaverde did it at age 36. He threw 70 more touchdowns over 68 starts. Trent Dilfer had that surgery at age 30. He played for a couple more years. Wasn't all that effective, but he was Trent Dilfer. I think Kirk Cousins has been a little more prolific in a more passing-friendly era. And you're looking at, a team in Atlanta that has invested heavily in their offensive weapons. I think that Kirk Cousins is going to be good Bijan Robinson's going to be good. I think that they got to get the ball to a first-round tight end from the University of Florida that they just haven't seemed to be able to do for 2 years. But I promise you, Kyle Pitts can play. I think that Atlanta will be good. So the first three, I think that it's reasonable to think that Kirk Cousins is going to be good. I think it's reasonable to think Baker Mayfield will play at a pretty high level. I'm not betting on Bryce Young. And then the Saints question revolves around the pass rush. Can they generate more of a pass rush to help out their top 10 defense? And that's probably going to be the most important thing for that defense. They've got to get after the passer a little bit better. They were a functional defense last year without pressing the passer almost at all. And I feel like you've got a chance with Chase Young to enhance that. You would expect that Brian Brzee would improve upon last year where he did show some flashes. Carl Granderson looks like a good signing. And I hope Cam Jordan can give you more than he did last year. It's not a guarantee, but you hope. And if Brzee and Young and Granderson are a problem, and all of a sudden Cameron Jordan gets a little bit less attention, that can only help. Baker Mayfield is fairly mobile, but you can go get him. Kirk Cousins, not mobile, and Bryce Young is terrified. So if they can rush the passer, that's going to help. The pass rush is not the number one thing the Saints need to worry about. It's the offensive line. We all know that. We talk about it 3 times a week in June. But the question is, can the Saints generate more of a pass rush? My contention would be yes. They can almost, not statistically, do a worse job affecting the passer next year than they did this past year. I mean, they had the 4th fewest sacks in the NFL. They were 3rd fewest in terms of hits. They were 11th in terms of pressures. It wasn't good enough affecting the passer. They've got to do a better job of that this year. I think they will. The personnel lends itself to doing that. So on 3 of those burning questions, I'm betting on the affirmative. Surprise, surprise, I'm out on Carolina. It's just the way that it is. So that's a look at the New Orleans Saints. If you're looking for our Saints coverage all year long, you can find it certainly at Hunt on Saints on YouTube. Uploaded each and every day. We got new Saints content every day over there on YouTube. If you're looking for Saints in the dog days of summer, do that over at Hunt on Saints. Maybe I was wrong. We'll get you a score update from Knoxville coming up next.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Every shot, every goal, ESPN Bet has fans covered for the biggest moments on the road to the championship. The exclusive sportsbook of ESPN is the only place to find special offers and promotions from your favorite ESPN shows and personalities throughout the playoffs. New users can get a bet reset. Listen to this, a bet reset up to $1,000 in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't hit. Up to $1,000 if your first bet doesn't hit. So download the ESPN Bet app today. What a play. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 in partnership with LeBears Lake Charles. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial properties. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered.
Sandgriff, join us for the Monday edition of Live at Lunch from Walk-Ons in Brewley. We'll recap the Super Regionals and the NBA Finals. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Monday from Walk-Ons in Brewley on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Our Rad Dad contest is back, presented by Roaming Shot Outdoors and Shooting Range. Upload a picture of your dad doing dad things to 1045ESPN.com for a chance to win him a Blackstone grill with all the accessories, one long shot shooting school class for 2 from Roaming Shot Outdoors and Shooting Range, steaks from Chris's Specialty Foods, a Hawk Soap gift basket, and a full throttle package from Finish Line Haircuts. We'll be choosing a winner June 14th. Happy Father's Day from Roaming Shot Outdoors and Shooting Range and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
I was told last week back that I should not expect a Father's Day present. Playing in the golf tournament last 2 weekends ago was my Father's Day present. Which, you know what? If I would have gotten that on the front end, I would have been like, yeah, it's a 3-day tournament. I don't do a lot of parenting over that weekend. There are some beverages involved and a lot of golf involved. So I think that was fair. I don't have any objections there.
Well, you also had a little damage to the vehicle that occurred.
Yeah, some things happen.
Things
there was
happen.
some damage to the vehicle, and she wasn't thrilled about that. And you know what? That's okay. So I might get a card, might not. I'm hoping
That's all right.
that I can watch the U.S. Open without having to do too much. But yeah, I'm not going to be getting a present. The golf tournament was it. So. Look, I told you in the last segment that I thought that Tennessee would absolutely beat the brakes off of Evansville. Blake Burke had tagged a home run, knocked it off the scoreboard, 1-0 early. Aces, I said, we're done. And turns out I was dead wrong because Evansville just hit a 2-run homer, and they lead 2-1. So have I changed my tune? Do I believe that Evansville will be able to hang in this series?
No.
I have not. I do not. This is going to be a blowout. No concerns at all.
Okay, we'll see.
Evansville, to win this game, Evansville needs to score 11 runs.
11?
They have 2. So
that's a lot.
Tennessee's going to score 10. So we'll see. But it is interesting, though, and there are probably not a lot of people listening that give a rip about Tennessee and Evansville, but I do think there are people listening that don't want Tennessee to win the College World Series.
Oh, absolutely.
And I will tell you, just for a little bit of context here, they have gone to A.J. Causey in the second inning. He's their A reliever who's designed to get length and close out games. He was their Friday night guy early in the season. They've kind of transitioned him to that. So, they're pushing their number one guy out there. They're basically putting kind of their Griffin Herring-esque guy in there right now. So, I think that's interesting, and we'll see if Evansville can at least make him work a little bit. So, I want to talk a little bit about the SEC teams in the Super Regional, give you my picks real quick, kind of what I think is going to happen. We'll start in College Station with Texas A&M and Oregon. As Joe mentioned, Oregon has an edge to them. They fight, they scrap, and they're a pretty quality team that doesn't have power arms. I have my take, and I think outside of Oregon State, who has built their program over 2 decades into what it is, I don't think the Pac-12 is worth a rip. I said that when Arizona got that host regional site that they wouldn't win it. When UCLA and Stanford absolutely stink, who have some pedigree, like, I'm not going to trust Oregon and Utah and Arizona State and Cal. Like, sorry, I'm not. So I think that Texas A&M will take care of business. As I mentioned to Joe back in that segment, A&M, while I have not trusted their starting rotation all year, has now morphed itself into this thing that they've got two guys that they feel like they can go to for 2, 3, 4 innings to finish games. So the first time A&M gets a lead in the 6th, whether that's game 1, game 2, they will go to Evan Aschenbeck, and he's been lights out, and he was in the regional. And then if they burn him, it's okay in the next game because they can go to Chris Cortez, who throws 100 miles an hour. You saw him in Baton Rouge just absolutely shut LSU down as they were going for a sweep, and he'll close down their second win. I don't know if it'll take them 3 days or 2 days, but they'll figure out a way with that bullpen to get it done. I think Texas A&M does win it. I am with Joe on this. I don't trust Georgia or Florida. Florida can absolutely win. Georgia can absolutely win. Georgia hits a bunch of home runs in that ballpark. They're at home, maybe. But I don't trust a team that's pitching staff has been really shoddy, not for a week, not for 2 weeks, for 13 weeks. And that's what Florida and Georgia are at this point. I think both of those teams are in trouble this weekend. Kentucky and Oregon State, I have going the distance. I think that's a 3-game series. I do trust Oregon State to be a quality team. They've just got enough skins on the wall. Yeah, their conference record wasn't as good as sometimes it has been. Yeah, I don't think their conference is great, but they've got Travis Bazzana, who's one of the best hitters in the country, and I think they've got a real chance to win in Lexington. So I'll be pulling for Oregon State. I hope they win. For those that aren't aware of this, Tennessee is on one side of the bracket, and the other 4 SEC teams are all on the other side of the bracket, not playing each other. So theoretically, if all the SEC teams won, you would have an SEC bracket entirely on one side and then Tennessee on the other side. I do think that North Carolina is national championship good. I do think that Florida State is national championship good. We'll see. I think North Carolina has no problems with West Virginia this weekend. Les Weatherholt hits 3 home runs. I don't know that I see much of an issue there. So I'm not nearly as plugged into the Supers as I would be. I think I mentioned this a couple times. My wife's got a cousins get together at the lake this weekend, which I'm looking forward to. Tomorrow we're going to be out on the water a little bit, so won't be watching much Super Regional baseball. I get home Sunday. I'll probably turn a couple of them on. We'll see what happens with how many games there are on Monday. I'll be locked into Omaha. We'll be on the air for all those 1 o'clock games and then 6 o'clock games every night. Like, I'll be watching some of the College World Series. My heart still hurts a little bit turning on these Supers, and I do have a rooting interest in teams losing. If I can pick off Tennessee and A&M, I don't care. I don't want Kentucky to win. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. I don't want Florida to win. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. I don't want Georgia to win. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. If I could, pick a reasonable national championship pick, I'd probably pick Florida State. But I'll probably lock in more next week than I will this week. Maybe on Sunday. We'll just have to see. So that's it for a little college baseball segment. I want to tell you about our friends over at Corks. Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. Folks that brought you Couillon's Barbecue across the river. Fairly new food concept, just over a year old now on Government between Foster and Jefferson, and it is fantastic. I tell you all the time about that clean, crispy fried catfish. I tell you all the time about their jumbo Gulf shrimp. But how about this? Their jumbo baked potato, sprinkled with cheddar jack cheese, filled with Louisiana crawfish etouffee, and topped with 8 big Gulf shrimp and fresh chives. Absolutely fantastic. Very, very fantastic entree over there at Corks. I tell you this all the time, but if you're a person who's going, look, I'm from South Louisiana, I'm not going through a drive-through for my seafood. Just try Corks one time. It is excellent, excellent quality at a quick service restaurant. And if you're craving a po' boy and thinking, where should I get a po' boy here in Baton Rouge? Corks, awesome shrimp po' boy, fantastic catfish po' boy. You can drive on through or dine into their newly renovated dining area. Corks brings you our Friday shows. Check out the menu, corksfishandshrimp.com. We'll come back and close out the week. It's a Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, AVSSLA.com. Told you about this yesterday, but congratulations to Mitchell Fisher and his team at Audio Video Security Solutions. They win the People's Choice Award for Best Vendor at the Parade of Homes. We told you they had a home there that was sampling some of the fantastic work that they can do from a home entertainment perspective, and they won Best Vendor at the Parade of Homes. No surprise, because they're first class in the work that they do. professionalism that they display on the job site, and the customer service that they'll give you. And I can tell you that you're going to get Mitchell Fisher's cell phone here. He's going to answer the phone if you give them a call. It's 225-439-7920, 225-439-7920. It's audio video security solutions. You're spending a bunch of time outside, around the pool, on the grill, with the kids, in the yard, and you want some tunes to be playing? It's what we do at the Palmer House, thanks to the folks at Audio Video Security Solutions. Check them out on Instagram, AVSS_BR, and certainly find them online, avssla.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial properties. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Friday's AFR, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. The Riot Radio Hours return. Terrio's here, Kick Rocks, Ask Ryan, all that good stuff. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
24-4 is the score in Game 1 of the Tallahassee Super Regional. The Florida State Seminoles all over UConn. Tennessee and Evansville underway in the top of the third inning. Evansville leads that one 2-1. Got West Virginia and North Carolina cranking up a little bit later this evening on ESPN at 5 o'clock, and then Kansas State, Virginia, the nightcap The other 4 SEC teams will all play tomorrow. So you'll see Kentucky, you'll see Georgia, you'll see Texas A&M, you will see Florida all tomorrow in Game 1 of their Supers. There have been 29 hits in that UConn-Florida State game. Not a single error, though. So quality defense in a 24-4 game over there in Game 1. Crazy that Florida State has rebounded this quickly after just hiring Link Jarrett a year ago. So that's it for some college baseball talk. Let's play some Take It or Leave It and get on down the road.
All right, first one here. The Roaring Kitty. Take it or leave it.
I got to be real honest with you. I don't know what the Roaring Kitty is.
You don't?
Some guy who gets on Twitter and changes the stock market or something. I don't.
Well, they actually made a movie about him.
I think it was earlier
this year, but no, it was this guy. He kind of became popular on Reddit, the social media.
I know what Reddit is.
Yep. And basically, so GameStop, you remember the GameStop stuff?
I know, and he made the stock go out of control.
Yeah, and so he's made like millions and millions. I think he's like he's either about to become a billionaire or he's about to become like a massive millionaire. He's already a millionaire, but he's about to think.
So does he tell everybody what stock to buy and everybody just buys it through the roof? Like
no,
GameStop's not doing anything to help their cause.
Well, no, he's not doing that. It's that he finds these companies that are getting shorted by hedge funds, and he tells people, "Hey, let's go buy these stocks." So these people, all these big money people, will lose their money because they're betting on this company that's going to die.
Okay.
Well, we're not going to let it die, so we're going to go buy all these stocks in it, and therefore the value rises, and it's just like a whole thing. So,
wow, awesome job by the Roaring Kitty. I don't know that I'm going to start buying GameStop anytime soon, but shout out Roaring Kitty. I saw he was doing some sort of live stream.
There's they just made a movie about him recently. I think it was earlier this year. So I may want to watch that. That might help you understand.
So should I take it? Should I take the Roaring Kitty or should I leave the Roaring Kitty?
I would take it.
I'll take the Roaring Kitty. Awesome job by the Roaring Kitty. Fantastic work.
Next one here. Lake days are better than beach days. Take it or leave it.
I love lake days, but I'm going to leave this. I mean, I like the beach. There are a lot of folks out there that are not wild about sand, which can be a bit of an issue. Sometimes that the beach can be a little crowded on a lake. Sometimes you can use your own pier, your own boat. I understand that as well. I love a lake day, but I'm pro beach. I can sit on the beach with an ice chest and some music and a book and some sunglasses, and I can kill 9 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Easily.
Not really a problem at all.
I'm with you.
On the pier, I probably would need a little bit more help there, but I'm pro beach in this argument.
Yeah, I'm with you there as well. Moving on, Buc-ee's is looking into opening a gas station in Lafayette. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I saw a Buc-ee's shirt on you earlier this week, Cassie. I'm pro Buc-ee's. I don't go west very often.
Yeah.
I go west for LSU baseball in Houston every other year, even though I didn't this year because we were moving. But I just don't ever go west. I go east a fair amount. That's usually to go to the beach.
Didn't they just build one in North Louisiana?
I think there's one in Ruston, or they were planning one in Ruston on I-20.
But you're not going to go there, so.
No, I don't. I mean, look, if I go to Ruston, I'm going to Squire Creek. So and that's pretty close to there. So, and it's not like I've done that a lot. I've been to Squire Creek 3 times in my life. So, look, I'm pro Buc-ee's going to Lafayette. I'm disappointed greatly that the Buc-ee's owner is a big A&M donor. So every time I go there and buy some brisket tacos, I'm contributing to the A&M NIL fund, which is a bit of an issue for me.
Well,
but it is what it is.
Yeah, well, you can go there on your way to the Shriners in Houston.
Yes, that's in 2 years. I think they're in Round Rock next year.
Round Rock, so it'll either way. You're going west either way. So,
but if I'm going, I doubt I'm going to Round Rock.
Yeah.
I tried to weasel my way into calling those games 2 years ago in Round Rock, but Jeff Palermo got to do it. Who does an awesome job. But I wanted to see if I could go to Round Rock and call those games.
All right, last one here. Ambrosia strawberry cake. Take it or leave it.
Gonna take it. Ambrosia strawberry cake. Moisture factor's fantastic. Flavor's very good.
Yep.
I'm in on that very, very much. I'm in on most cakes.
Yeah.
There are very few cakes that I'm out on. And the Myers man eats like 5 things. Cake, very much one of them. To the point where we call things cake, so we'll eat them. Like my mom came down to see him this week because he was sick, and so she stayed with him for 3 days. She brought some banana bread. If I told him you want some banana bread, he would say no.
But
said, do you want some cake? Boom, eat banana
easy.
bread in 2 seconds. So
Kids, man.
cake's a hit, and the Ambrosia strawberry cake, very, very good as well. That'll do it for us here on this Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Corks. We opened the show up today talking about uniforms with patches on them, fields with logos on them. I'm not wild about it. T-Bob thinks I'm a freaking, and I'll use the proper term there, thinks I'm a freaking nerd, but it's just the way I feel. So I gave you my thoughts on that at the top of the show. Preston Guy talking recruiting at 1:15. You can find that on Hunt on LSU on YouTube. Chris Demui, former Tiger left-hander and national champion, joined us one final time to talk about the 2024 LSU baseball season. Stephen Milam headed up to play for Team USA, potentially. Certainly get to try out later this month. My thoughts on that. Joe Healy, SEC Extra, part of the D1 baseball squad over there. He was with us at 2 o'clock, breaking down LSU season as well as the rest of the Super Regionals that involve SEC teams. Burning questions for the NFC South. There was one for each team. We broke those down. You can find that on YouTube at Hunt on Saints. Then a little Super Regional breakdown from myself. Pulling for the Oregon Ducks, pulling for the Evansville Aces. My confidence level, not high, but certainly we'll react to that coming up on Monday. If you missed any of the show today, catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound. You can certainly find us YouTube as well. All right, Matt's going to drive you home on After Further Review. We're back Monday, same time, same place. Looking forward to it. Hayden Travinsky will jump on to talk about the season that was and what he's got moving forward. Have a safe and happy weekend. We're back Monday on The Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Farming is a